Okay, we are live, my friends. I got done with all my work early today. I was gonna, and then I got a couple more hours before I have to go pick up my son from daycare. So, guess what we're going to do today, boys and girls? Yep, you're right. We're gonna do part two on the narcissism campaign. Uh, I'm not gonna do a whole series on this stuff because I got. I don't want to crowd my whole channel with narcissism. I just wanted to do this when I got off out of my hiatus. I went on a hiatus of when it came to uh, like Facebook, other social media, some other social media stuff. But because I needed to do some reflecting and thinking, and I needed some confirmation in certain areas. But and it confirmed. Uh, I was because I've been going on a journey for 2 years, and it confirmed why I was going on the journey. I never knew exactly why, but I was following the steps and going through the proper instructions and protocols, and got a lot of things taken off when it comes to deliverance and removing things off my life, and I kind of received confirmation that I did indeed have narcissistic traits, but a lot of the things I had been removing was part of those traits, and I didn't know. I thought I was just trying to be a better person and striving to do better in my personal journey. That's all I was really trying to do. Um, I didn't think anything of it at the time, but towards the end of my journey, I started researching and doing a lot of research, and I found out that during the time where I was broken and wasn't healed, and I actually was in full narcissist mode. But I'm glad I took out time to heal and reflect and to better myself. So uh, it's a constant journey. Things still falling up. Because life, you're always working and striving to better yourself daily. So you're never done when it comes to bettering yourself. Because the moment you think that you've arrived, that's when you have a problem. It's when you're in trouble. Um, but topic of the day: can narcissists change? And I believe they can. But this is I I'm gonna use this video to confirm it, and this may be the only video I'm gonna show and do commentary on, but but we'll see. But I have a lot that I wanted to say on this part because I actually had to go through this journey, and I was going through the journey without knowing I was going through the journey. I didn't know until towards the end. So, uh, it's not an easy road. It could take some years. When you're trying to put in, especially when you're putting in the hard work and when you're doing a lot of things that you need to do to better yourself, to kind of put it into different habits and stuff like that. But you know, I cannot do a stream without my companion, my good old Mountain Dew. Brought to you by your local gas station or Family Dollar, Dollar Store, whatever is closest to you. And I can't do it without my best buddy, my pal. Um, yeah. So without further ado, we're gonna get into the festivities. I just wanted to kind of go over a little bit before I got into the everything, because like I said, this is a serious and personal topic. Um, it took a long time to and there's still residue. When I mean residue, there's still some conviction. There's still some. You still have uh, flashbacks of things that you used to do. The Because there's still a level of guilt when it comes to that. So definitely not proud of it. But moving forward is the key. When you have to make things right with people and move forward. Uh, I'd say the hardest part is actually actually forgiving yourself, and because still have the flashbacks, you still have the uh, the guilt that's associated with that stuff, because you have to realize in this stage that you actually create victims, and it's not an easy pill to swallow, but it's not an easy pill to swallow, but it can be managed. It has to be managed even after you go on a journey or go soul searching and do the work that it takes to change. It's but and like I say, and I don't know so much because I make this known. I don't know so much because uh, I'm just so much smarter than everybody know. I know so much because I've done a lot of things wrong, and I've bumped my head a lot. I had to learn a lot of things the hard way, and I get the word out, do messages because I don't want other people to have to do the same thing. Whoever listens, I don't want them to have to do the same thing. Um, I would prefer, because I would have preferred that I didn't learn it the hard way or had to go through all that. I don't wish that on anybody, not my worst enemy. So I would rather, I would rather, you know, share my experiences and bring awareness to it because it's real and it does affect people's lives in the worst way possible. um, yeah, this is just not the way to go. I had something I was going to say, but it keeps leaving my mind. But because you don't, um, this is definitely not something you want to wish on people. 'Cause I was going to had some at the tip of my tongue, because but may not be meant for me to say it. But it was I was going somewhere with my point, but I was trying to, cause I was just trying to make it known because this is not something. If you're aware that you have some of these traits, you may want to kind of do something about it. Oh yeah, back to what I was saying about nothing good comes out of it. Nothing good comes out of hurting people. Nothing good comes out of using people to fill that broken space in your heart and your mind. Nothing good comes out of feeding off others so you'll be happy. Nothing good comes out of that, whether it be intentional or not. Like I said, my part one stream doesn't matter. The intent doesn't matter whether you're trying to do it or not. If you're broken, you need to do the work that it takes to get healed, to get fixed, because otherwise, all you're gonna do is feed off other people, and it's not healthy. It doesn't lead anywhere good. That's why, like I mentioned, the red pill stuff. A lot of them are have those traits. Like I said, 'cause they play victim a lot. They don't hold themselves accountable for anything. Everything is the woman's fault. Everything is the other person's fault. It's always the other person. Always the other person. It's all about them and what they want in a relationship. Every other relationship they've ever had, all women are bad and everything like that. And if you think any positive about women, you're automatic a simp, or there's something wrong with you. They call you a cuck, or all kind of stuff like that. So that they don't want to be held accountable at all for anything they do. They have the accountability of toddlers, and I had a lot of those traits too. I didn't call myself red pill because how this happened. Uh, I realized after doing a lot of reflection that I was one of the very people that I used to preach against. That I used to uh, talk against. So I had to hurry up and make a change. Uh, but and then, like I said, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of facing yourself, a lot of looking at yourself in the mirror, a lot of discomfort. It was 2 years of discomfort, and I got used to it eventually and started searching for ways to get better, and 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 it started working. Learning effective ways to communicate, because narcissists tend to suck at communication. So I learned better ways to communicate, learn better ways to take care of stuff, learn better ways to finish. They have a problem finishing what they start. So I learned how to complete things. So different things like that, different skills that uh, adults know, but narcissists don't know because they're underdeveloped. Because not because they're incapable of learning, but because they didn't do the work that it took to heal, to get where they need to be. Because regardless of your trauma, regardless of where you are from, what happened to you in your childhood. None of that should stop you from being the best version of yourself. None of that. If you letting in that, because there's no excuse for anybody. Because you have resources, we have therapy, we have counseling, we have there are free resources. There's YouTube. There's all kind of ways to heal and get the help that you need. And the last part of my journey, I did have therapy for the major parts, but the last part of my journey, uh, it was all me holding myself accountable for all my past stuff. Because therapy got me to a certain point to where I could communicate effectively, to where I could address my own issues, to where uh, I was able to do the work myself without actually having someone holding my hand to do it. Now, uh, I did have to do my own research. I did have to do a lot of persevering and pushing through a lot of uncomfortable moments because, like I said, if you take your leg, your arm, and break it, and don't put a cast on it, and it heals, that's a narcissist. They don't heal properly. So with that leg, you have to re-break it and put a cast on it. So what I had to do, I had to go all the way back to childhood, all the way back to different issues, different problems I had, and relive every situation in my mind and play it out the way it's supposed to be played out, taking full accountability and full responsibility on my part. And that was a huge part of my healing, when I was able to go back and take accountability for each situation that I thought went wrong, that I thought was the other person's fault, that I thought someone else screwed over. I realized that I was the one that could have did better. I was the one that could have made it different, made things different. I was the one that could have, if I had done certain things differently, those situations wouldn't have been nearly as bad as they should have been. I was the cause for most of my, we say 90% of your problems are self-inflicted. So I had to go all the way back to every situation that I felt like I was traumatized by and take accountability. So I had to break myself all the way back down and heal back right. So, so a lot of things that happened that I was playing victim over, I'm over it now. I'm not even mad about it because I realized that I realized my role in those situations. Because people are responsive. They respond to how you act and how you do and what you do. Every relationship that you're in, you're the common denominator. So it's not all them. So, you know what I'm saying? It's not all them. It's how we act and how we respond. So a lot of things, most of it, 98% was my fault. I'd say that. And I'd say all the relationships I've been in, every single last one of them, and I mean every last relationship that I was ever in, could have played out differently if I had done certain things better, if I had handled the situations better, if I had took more accountability and responsibility, had more maturity, if I was more emotionally immature, if I was more emotionally mature, those relationships probably could have worked. And I'm man enough to admit that. I say it live on the air. I don't even care. It is what it is. Hey, it is what it is. So, without further ado, let's get this thing started.
Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. So let me ask you this. Do you think a narcissistic personality can change?
Absolutely.
Let's take that on in this video. And this is part of a series we're doing on debunking myths about narcissism.
And I'll give my commentary on each one of these that she says. I'll give my commentary as she goes. She's gonna list the different things that narcissists can do to change, and I'll give my commentary.
So let's take this myth on. Can narcissism change? Can a narcissistic personality shift and change? Because that's the myth. A lot of people out there say, oh, of course it can change. All personalities can change. This myth is an oldie, right? It's a classic. It's the reason that most people get stuck in these messes in the first place. The myth is that narcissism can change. The myth is that narcissism can completely turn around and we can set people free from it. Maybe.
Well, you can't set me free from it. I have to set me free from it. It's not someone else's job to clean up my mess. That's what we have to realize too. When you what you got to realize, if you have these traits, no one can clean up your mess. You have to go back and do the work. I had to do it. I had to go back and relive every situation, replay out every situation in my mind, step by step, trying to okay, I was the one that messed up here. I was the one that did this. They responded this way because I was out of step. I was out of order. So they responded how they responded. You can't, whether your intent, no matter, like I said, the intent doesn't matter. You can't wrong somebody and tell them how to respond to it. You can't do that. You don't get to justify how they can get angry at you. You don't know, because you don't know what they've been through. You don't know what traumas they've had. You don't know what situations that they had to encounter in their own personal lives also. So even though you may not see what you've done as a major thing, that may be the very reason, the very cause to their trauma. And so you have to empathize with other people also. You can't just see it from your point of view. Or they yelled at me, or they did this to me, or oh, I'm the victim. No, you're not. You're not the victim. They have things going on too. They may be having a bad day. So you can't just make it about you.
Maybe if we love the person enough, or address their core wounds, or figure out how to best talk to them, or
Oh, shout out to her. Go check out her page. She has a lot of good content. Her videos really were spot on. It helped me out a lot when it came to this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm using one of her videos. I just don't want to use the other ones because they're like 59 minutes long, like 2 hours long. One of them was an hour. A lot of them are an hour long, and I didn't want to. She's on a lot of different channels. She's pretty good. She's really good. She could pinpoint a lot of this stuff, and that's why I like it. Because now that I'm on the other side of it, I crave things that call me out. I want you to call me out. Call me out, please, because I'm trying to change and grow. I'm steadily changing and growing. I like being called out. Please call me out, because if it's something I need to fix, let's do it, man. Life to be trying to be stagnant and not grow. Let's get it popping.
maybe things will start working out for them. And then their personality will shift. They're just grumpy because life's not going the way they want. Let's start with the idea. Let's talk about
In life, you got to realize we have more control. The reason life ain't gonna always go our way nowhere. We have to. We're in more control than we think. The only thing that's keeping us from enjoying life is our own mind. Because on the spiritual side, when you have joy, the joy in the Lord is your strength. When you have joy, it don't matter if it's raining, snowing. It doesn't matter. You can still find joy. You can still have peace. None of that stuff matters. The conditions on the outer doesn't matter. It should not have any effect on the inner. It may. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be happy all the time, going to have a smile on your face every day, but you're not going to be this broken mess that mistreats people because of your misery. You're not. That shouldn't be the case. You should be able to effectively communicate your frustrations, your disappointments, without taking it out on people in a negative way.
what change really is, right? Because there's change, and then there's change.
Hi everyone, Mark Barden here at Sandy Hook Promise. On December 14th, 2012,
I don't care, buddy.
I don't know, if I move my car 2 feet forward in the driveway, I suppose I've moved it. But it doesn't really change anything, does it? Another car won't fit behind it, and most people wouldn't notice that it moved 2 feet. But literally speaking, it moved 2 feet. That's a change, right? And that right there is one of the issues that causes a lot of debate. What does change really mean? And how much change is enough?
What change really means is do whatever study what narcissists do, find out what they do, and you just do the opposite. You practice and work on it every day, doing the opposite until it becomes part of your lifestyle. think it takes what it takes 60 days to form a habit, 90 days to have a life. After 90 days, you're beginning to start a new form, a new lifestyle, new way of living. But you have to be consistent with it, day after day after day. Have to practice it and never look back to the old way. Never look back. Never go back. Even if you have a relapse, you have to keep moving forward. You can't just I stop, I relapse, so it's all over. No, you have to keep moving. You have to continue to walk forward and move forward because that's not we all slip up, but don't let it be an excuse to give up or to stop or all that other crap. You have to keep moving. It's the only way.
To be meaningful. This is where the researchers and the therapists and the people experiencing narcissistic abuse will never be on the same page. When we do research on change, things that may show up as sort of being, I guess they change statistically in a meaningful way, they have little meaning in real life. For example, a person's score, I don't know, on some kind of emotional regulation test or test on insight or test on narcissism, I suppose maybe that could shift a little. But the people around them aren't noticing any meaningful change. They're still gaslighting.
Yeah, because you're still treating people the same. So those test scores mean nothing if you're still a douchebag.
They're still manipulative. They're just still out there
Still a douchebag.
causing problems. There's still rage, all of those things. Maybe there's fewer episodes. The narcissistic person may catch it earlier. They may even apologize, but it still happened.
You're just an apologetic douchebag.
Is that change? That's a subjective question. There
If I punch you in the face and apologize for it, it still hurt. I mean, your nose is still broken. It doesn't change the fact that I did it. So that's not change. Actual change is thinking before you do it. When you have the urge to do it, don't do it. Just go somewhere and calm down or something. Or before you send a angry text that doesn't have any regard for the other person's feelings or thoughts, sending it and apologizing doesn't signify that I've changed. It still was sent out. It still affected you in a negative way. I was still a douchebag about it. So apologizing doesn't really help anything. I had to learn that too.
Therapists in general do not like the idea of talking about people not changing. I don't know, maybe it's a bad business model, right? It's like saying, hey, I'm a mechanic, and there are some cars out there I can't fix. You don't want to say that. It feels kind of bleak and hopeless. Many therapists take umbrage at this idea that narcissism is a pretty unchangeable kind of a personality style, and they still
Reason why they say that, well, a lot of them say it's unchangeable because the other person, the narcissist, doesn't believe that they have a problem. They believe in their mind they're the victim. They believe in their mind that they don't need any. But as long as you blame other things and other people, you don't have anything to work on. But when you can actually take accountability, that's when change is possible. Because just because you're a narcissist today doesn't mean you have to stay that way. Just because you have an F on your report card don't mean you have to have one forever. You can pull your grades up. You could have an F and have an A the next month. If you go back and work on those grades where you failed at, they let you retake tests or whatever, make up work. You can pull grades up. So a lot can be done, but it just takes the work. So, I mean, just like anybody, you could have poor health and then get healthy. I've seen that happen all the time. But we live in an era where there's no accountability. Anytime you hold somebody accountable, they get mad, they get offended, and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the main problems too, because no one wants to be held accountable for stuff. No one wants to be told anything. Oh no, man, you might could have handled that better. They get mad. Screw you. That's not. You can't change someone that acts like that. because they don't see that they're the problem.
Work with people saying, oh, maybe we could figure out a way to get you there. And then there are those who are experiencing narcissistic abuse who desperately want change to be possible so they can maintain the relationship. But they've tried for years, they've tried everything, they've gotten nowhere. And what happens with most survivors of narcissistic abuse is that they believe there's something wrong with them themselves because everyone can change, right? And if they're not changing, they think I'm not worth changing for, but maybe they change for someone else. I have a unique perch on this because I've worked with a lot of narcissistic clients in therapy. And listen, I'm the first one to know. Maybe I am a shit therapist, and that's why people aren't changing. But let's just say I'm a decent.
No, it doesn't mean that you're a crap therapist. What it means is a lot of people aren't willing to do the work because when I was going to therapy, they said I was one of the only clients that actually put in the work that was needed to change. When they gave me different assignments and different tasks, I actually went out and did it because it was because of my therapist that I actually took out the time to go meet my mom for the first time in years since I was a baby. A lot of things I got closure for because they gave me homework and I did it. I didn't make excuses. Well, I would have did it, but I did. Did you do your homework? No, I didn't do my homework. No, I did what they asked me to do, and I found a lot of healing and a lot of closure in it. They helped me and guided me along the way to a lot of things. So a lot of those old wounds just started going away for some reason. Because when you actually do the work, it's not about when they address what each issue that you have, and they can't, just like going to the doctor. If you go to the doctor and tell them that nothing's wrong with you, how are they going to help you? They only can address what you tell them. If you don't tell them anything, they can't address it. They're only as effective as what is your transparency. So if you're going to therapy, you have to be transparent. You have to tell them. I don't care how uncomfortable you are. You have to tell them all your flaws, all your problems, everything, even things that you don't want anyone else to know. You have to tell them all of my insecurities. I laid them out on the table. I was completely vulnerable. I faced my insecurities. Everything that I wasn't sure about, everything that I didn't was kind of concealing from other people. I was all out and open and emotionally, spiritually naked in front of my therapist, and we addressed every issue. And we that's how it happens. You can't conceal anything. But I say she was a good therapist because she addressed these things. She held me accountable. She called me out on my BS, and that was one of the best experiences I had because that was a huge part of my healing journey. It wasn't done after I graduated therapy, but still, it took me further enough for me to continue the journey without having to, like I said, without having to have someone hold my hand. Because I started thinking and rationalizing and communicating like a normal adult. I wasn't a man child anymore. I didn't rage out when someone held me accountable, when someone, called me out on something, because I had to get rid of that ego, that inflated ego that narcissists had. I had to get rid of it. Had to realize I'm just a human being like everybody else. No one's better than nobody. Nobody's in regards to how life works and nobody's quote unquote special. There are millions and millions of people on this planet. The world doesn't revolve around one person, one guy, or one woman. I have to be respectful. I have to be considerate. I have to be compassionate, just like everybody else. I'm not above anybody. I have to realize these things. I have to be proper. I have to use manners. I have to consider other people's feelings. Everyone has to do that, not just me. Everyone. We all have to do that. And some people say, "Oh, it's hard. It's going to be hard for you." It was hard learning how to ride a bike. It was hard learning how to nail a hammer. It was hard learning how to use a drill. It was hard learning how to play the piano, but I did it. I learned how to play the keyboard. It's hard to learn how to play the guitar, but I did it. It's hard learning how to sing properly, but I did it. It was hard learning how to type, but I freaking did it. There's no excuse. Being that it's hard, saying it's hard is no excuse. I had to make a habit of not making excuses, even though I had every intention of either handling something or getting something taken care of. Something I still don't. I make a habit of not making excuses. I say, hey, look, I was slipping. I got to take care of that, because once you start making excuses, that becomes a habit, and then you start slacking, and then you start not being. That's how you not get from point A to point B, when you start making excuses. So when you stop making excuses, you get things done, because now you have to blame you a lot more. Now you have to face responsibility and accountability. So I've had to force myself to do that. I still do, but these are things that everyone has to do. Not just me, not just narcissists. Everyone has to do it. It's just that narcissists refuse to do it. That's the difference. They refuse to do it. But everyone has to do these things. Everyone has to make sacrifices for other people. Everyone has to people that you love or take care of. So there are times you have to put their feelings before your own. That's completely normal. But narcissists don't think that. They play victim when they have to do this. They play victim when they have to be held accountable. They play victim when it comes to these things that every adult has to do. So all it is you you're reprogramming your mind. Not saying that's all it is, because it can be complicated. It's a lot of hard work involved, but it's like I said, it's hard to learn how to use a computer for the first time. It was hard to learn everything that you know how to do now. When you first started doing it, it was hard. So that's no excuse. That's all I'm saying.
Therapist, right? So if I even gave myself a little benefit of the doubt, I have to say, in working with narcissistic clients, we don't make much progress. And I see why that is. It comes down to people who are narcissistic having zero tolerance for stress or frustration or disappointment or criticism.
I had to train my mind to get comfortable with all those things. She's right on that too. I had to train my mind to get comfortable with those. I didn't like none of that stuff. I didn't like stress or any of that stuff. I had to train my mind to get used to it, to be able to handle stress, to be able to deal with accountability, to be able to handle those things. Some of these things, you have to handle it. You have to deal with those stuff. Deal with that stuff. You have to face it. When you're facing a problem, you got to solve that problem. You got to put your mind on that, whatever issue that is, and follow through and solve that problem. You can't just I had to train my mind to do that. And I'm not just saying something that I'm not doing. I had to train myself to be able to do these things, to be able to calm down, to not be angry, to not rage out, to not play victim, but to get my mind focused on that problem and handle that problem. Even if I couldn't handle it the same day, write it down, calm down, and deal with it the next day. Life is not going to be everything easy peasy, 1, 2, 3. That's just not how life works all the time. You have to make things go right. You take the time out and put the work in and make it go right and mold it, like baking a cake, like cooking a dinner, like anything else. There's no woe is me, none of that stuff. Things and problems happen to everybody. It's up to us to solve those problems. That's how life goes smoothly, because we're putting in the work daily to make sure it goes smoothly. We can't cry just because we have an issue, because everyone has them.
I will see that just from one week to the next, a narcissistic person can go from well regulated.
Adventure on a deeper level. The Subaru Forester Wilderness. Dog tested, dog approved.
I could have dropped my mouth.
Over 40, 2 makeup looks you're too old for. 1, makeup that creases in fine lines. We're old enough to know we deserve.
To rageful and vindictive. And when I point out the difference to them in 1 week, what happened? You changed so much. They'll start to rage at me. And if they're raging at me, I can't.
Because you made them. The reason why they rage at you is because, I'll tell you why. Narcissists don't like to be vulnerable. They don't like to hold themselves accountable. Because they rage at you. Now they have to face what happened when they were unstable or what happened, because they have triggers. And when you have a trigger, they might not handle it well. Sometimes you may stay in a trigger mode for 3 to 4 days or a week or two. Instead of processing that or calming down, calming their emotions down, regulating their emotions, um, like let's say a normal unnarcissistic person, they can process an issue or emotion within minutes. Takes a narcissist, it may take them a month to process one event or one emotion. Had to get out of that habit too, because you have to when you're being held accountable, when mishaps happen, you have to be able to handle it right then. You can't sit down and break down and shut down for weeks at a time. That's just not how it's supposed to work.
And imagine the rage they must be manifesting to those close to them. And usually the only reason their rage was worse the second week was because a stressor came along. There are
And instead of handling that stressor, they just take it out on everybody else instead of using that energy to handle the thing that's stressing them out.
people out there who claim to have the solution to it all. I don't see it.
The only solution is you're the solution.
I don't even think an intensive inpatient therapy would do it, because then the narcissistic person would still ultimately have to leave that intensive inpatient setting and be out in the world with all of its stresses and shame and disappointment.
Like I said, it's on the individual. Therapy set up for you, the client, to put in the work that you need to do to get your healing. Once you add healing to the equation, a narcissist would probably realize that they're a jerk, especially if they heal the correct way by holding themselves accountable. But if you heal believing that everyone else was the problem, you're not. That's what I mean when you break your leg and don't put a cast on it and it heals improperly. You're healing in with the mindset that everyone else wrongs you, and you're okay. I forgive everyone that wronged me, and I'm this and this and that. Instead of actually really analyzing those situations, and you still don't see your wrong in it, so you're not healing correctly. You have to see your wrong. If there's any wrong on their part, you have to see, okay, what did I do to cause them to say that? What did I do to cause them to do that? What did I do to cause? Because it's probably something you may have did or said. Now, I'm not talking about people that were assaulted in a sexual way. I'm not talking about those type of people, but because there's nothing out there that can justify that. Not justify that in any way. I'm talking about if you and someone had a disagreement, you may have said something that triggered them and caused them to get angry with you or something like that. That's what I'm talking about. You have to really fully analyze everything.
There are no magic spells,
No, they're not.
no magical trauma therapies,
Nope.
no magic mushrooms
Just good old hard work and process.
or other potions or lotions that make narcissism go away.
No.
Pushing back from an antagonistic personality style such as narcissism, for a person to do that means making a lifelong commitment to being mindfully aware of other people and coming from a place of empathy or compassion, because that's the rub. People who are narcissistic actually know what societally preferred behavior looks like. And sometimes, in their contempt, they will label things like respect and compassion as weak or foolish or lame, or whatever words they can use to diminish empathy and compassion and respect. But the dysregulation, the impulsivity, and the oppositionality of narcissism, coupled with the lack of self-reflective capacity, means that when things are going beautifully or the way a narcissistic person wants, then they're actually able to play at the empathy and kindness game. They're able to
Because it's all about them and not about anything else.
look regulated and even play the I'm interested in you game. But when a narcissistic person is experiencing any sense of threat or things in life aren't going the way they want, they can become very reactive, and they're not able to inhibit their often cruel responses. It's for this reason that when people suspect that they are narcissistic themselves and ask me what they can do to change, I tell them, it's really all mindfulness all the time. That they always need to think about every word they say.
That's what everyone has to do. It's just not narcissists. That's everyone has to, the only difference is other people were taught and trained to do this, and it's second nature. They started doing this as a child. They were trained to do this. Or a lot of people that aren't narcissistic, it's just second nature. Just like people ask me, how do you play the piano like that? I've been doing it so long, it's second nature. It's just like I know where all the keys are. I don't even have to look at the keyboard to play. I don't. Certain things people do second nature. It's like no one, LeBron James playing basketball to him, dribbling, shooting, all that's second nature to him now. It's not he doesn't have to go back over the basics and all that stuff, because this, what she's talking about, thinking about everything before you act, and that's second nature to a normal adult. What a narcissist has to do is retrain their mind and practice these things until it becomes second nature.
And how it could affect someone else.
Second, this is what everyone has to do.
No matter how upset the narcissistic person is feeling. Let's face it.
Because everyone goes through these same emotions. No one wants to be held accountable. No one is comfortable with it. A lot of these things, a lot of times we're upset when we have to really address another person's issues. There are times we don't want to go to work. Any customer service person can relate to when they have to get yelled at on the phone or something like that. They have to have empathy and think about how they're going to respond to the customers and things like that. So we're all uncomfortable when it comes to doing these things. It's just the narcissist refuses. They're raging out. They get triggered because they're thinking about their own brokenness and turmoil, instead of really moving themselves out of the equation and trying to think about what the other person is going through.
That's a tall order for any of us.
It is, but however, we all still have to do it.
But it's all but impossible for somebody who's
It's possible.
narcissistic, who will often think, well, that's ridiculous. I can't do that.
One of my students landed multiple six-figure jobs in cybersecurity within just 90 days without...
No.
I have read many, many case reports over the year. These are published articles about one or two people, for example, who might have narcissistic personality disorder. And the article will go on to talk about how they were treated and the changes that these people were able to make. In most of these cases, these were people who had access to highly trained therapists. They had once or twice weekly sessions for at least 18 months or longer. This ain't happening, not in America. And since narcissistic people are about 60% more likely to drop out of therapy, even with all of that therapy in place.
Because the only thing that places limits on us is our own mind. So you got to be willing. See, I was willing to make the changes. I was willing, and I'm continuing to make certain changes. Of course, I'm not doing everything perfect. I can't say that, but a lot of things, a lot of major stuff has fallen off, and I'm not going to do it perfect. But the main thing is, I'm willing to be held accountable and all that kind of stuff. I will listen. I'm not going to sit here and rage out when a person has an issue or a problem with me or anything like that. And I take time out to think and process certain things before I just respond angrily and all that kind of stuff. Because you have to really think about what other people are going through. That's how you solve the problem. You have to meet people where they are versus just you making it about you when it's not really about you. If they have an issue, it's not about you at that point. They have an issue that's needing to be resolved, and making it about you isn't going to help.
The first time the therapist goes hard and attempts to make them keep it real, they aren't likely to come back in. So there goes that chance to change. And anybody who can have that much therapy anyhow has a lot of money. Has it happened? Have people improved? I'm sure. I'm sure these cases have been there. And significant change like this is a
That's why they say it's no cure, because they don't want to do the work to do better. There is a cure: accountability, empathy, consideration, doing the work that it takes to gain these characteristics. But if you're not willing to face it, you're not willing to be uncomfortable until this process is complete, you have no hope. You can forget it, buddy, because it is. Those 2 years were the most uncomfortable. Getting held accountable with each therapy session, and them holding you, calling you out on your BS week after week after week. That is the most uncomfortable thing. But until you face it and think about it from a different perspective and not make it about you, and try to look at it from how they're feeling, you're not going to get any better.
unicorn. It's definitely not something someone can plan around. And the fact is, the published articles are about the successes. I recognize that narcissism has lots of what we call etiologies or origins: early life trauma, abuse, loss, attachment issues, emotionally unavailable parents, intergenerational patterns, spoiled kids, kids who are valued too much for their abilities or their appearance than for their inner worlds, attachment issues, you name it. And while some people with those difficult backstories may develop narcissistic personalities, most will not. The lack of self reflective capacity and the tendency to blame other people means that people who are narcissistic will never recognize their contribution to an interpersonal situation or any situation in life and will quickly.
See what I mean? You have to go back and see what you did to make people. You have to go back and see what you did in the situation. You cannot make every situation where you're the victim. You can't do that, because you have a role to play. It takes two to tango in any situation.
Blame others so they can avoid the shame. Personality is tough. It's a bit.
And really, there's no shame, because everyone is imperfect in some way, shape, form, or fashion. We've all done crap that we regretted or didn't like. So that's the whole thing about when they say narcissists have an ego. They try to avoid the shame. They don't want to be shamed. But in actuality, everyone's done something. Everyone's done things, and you're just a regular person. That's what you have to realize. Hey, I messed up here. Hey, I didn't do this right. Hey, I didn't handle the situation correctly. I could have did it better this way. I mean, everyone can say that on Earth, on the planet. So that doesn't make you worse than anyone. That's what a narcissist has to realize. That doesn't make you worse. It just makes you human and susceptible to being corrected. I mean, that's all it is. But they're not used to that. They don't know how to their mind. They're emotionally immature, and they can't recognize that and say, okay, let's work on it. Let's make the changes that I need to make. They just rage out like a child, because they still have the mind of a child.
It might have a psychological fingerprint. And while they're.
It was a video of hers that I was going to try to watch. It was one that was. I hope I find it.
Can be a little movement in some personality styles. Some styles, antagonistic personality styles like narcissism, are very rigid, and they are not amenable to change. Life is not Beauty and the Beast, where love saves a raging beast and turns him into a sweetheart.
It definitely doesn't work that way. It's going to turn, when you try to date a narcissist, it's just going to ruin you're just going to ruin yourself, because you can't change him or her. It's just, you'll just be like the rest of them that tried to change. That's unfortunate, because there's no superheroes out here. If we are broken and we're hurting, unfortunately, no one can save us. We have to go in and do the work that it takes to save ourselves. No one's coming to our rescue when it comes to that. We have to do the work.
It's not all those feel-good movies in which love and inspiration
And all those movies were written to give us hope that it can happen. It's not reality.
turn someone hard-hearted into a big sweetheart. It just doesn't work that way. I
No.
wish it did. I really did.
And what the movies do, it happens in the movies, but what they do, they skip over all the parts where the work was done because they only have an hour of screen time or 2 hours of screen time. But it can be reality if you put in the work. You can take something from point A to point B if you put in the work. What the movie does, it it skims over the stuff because they only have so much screen time. But if you watch certain television series, it goes through different process where they have character development, and sometimes it takes years. You see one character completely change and develop and grow into something better, but it takes years for that to happen. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of different things, situations for that to take place. But in a movie, everything is because they don't have so much screen time. They have to skip over a lot of that stuff. So, and people uh, register that as reality some kind of way, and it's just not.
We would save so many broken hearts, so many broken families, and so many broken dreams. And frankly, save the narcissists from their broken spirits too. But alas, this is not a pattern that's easily amenable to change. I really do applaud people out there with narcissistic personality styles who say, I want to do the work. I say to you, by all means, do the work. It's an uphill slog.
I'm still doing the work, and it is uphill. But like I said, it's possible. There ain't no excuse, because life is hard for everybody, man. Everyone has to change and get better daily. We all have to do that, and so I don't use that as an excuse anymore.
But it's worth doing. For those of you in relationships with narcissistic people, doing the work is their responsibility.
Yep, it's not your job to try to fix people like that. It's not your job because you're only, especially they're not putting in any, they're not doing the work either. They're not doing any work. It's just nothing good gonna come out of that part.
You can't help them with this.
No.
No more than you could do a kid's homework and think they're going to learn.
Right.
These are their miles to walk. And listen, I'd love to be out of a job. I'd love it if people could do the work and push back on this. But by and large, the people who do make the commitment are very rare, and most of you experiencing narcissistic abuse are not likely to experience significant change in the narcissistic people who populate your life. I hope that debunks that myth.
But it's well, what was it? What did it say? Where we at? Okay, here it is. Here it is. That's the one. That's the one right there.
بعد جاينا رمضان وصوم ما بعد هيك.
Yeah. That's the one I wanted to go over.
Hey everyone, it is Dr. Romani, and welcome back to this channel on all things narcissism
I should have pulled this one up first, but I think I pulled the wrong one up by mistake. Oh well, too late.
and narcissistic relationship. Increasingly, this is a channel that is actually often driven by the ideas that many of you as viewers and subscribers to this channel are raising. I want this channel to be a useful source of information that's responsive to the questions people have. A lot of this stuff is the stuff I pull out of my little head, but I want it to also be the stuff that you guys are thinking about too. One area I have gotten numerous requests for, and I've finally gotten this together into one place.
And because I did research too on how they can change, because I ain't want to get stuck. I refuse to get stuck in, oh, there's no hope, it's not good enough for me. If there's always a way. You know what I'm saying? There's always a way when it comes to this stuff, especially when it comes to your mind. There's always a way to improve and to grow. So I don't buy that kind of stuff.
Many people watch this channel and say, yikes, I think I might be the narcissist. To which I say, number one, I applaud you.
Yeah, it wasn't her channel that I ran across, but it was another one.
You for willing to be self-reflective
About 2 years ago, I ran across one.
on whatever any of you are. As I say, as an incredibly stubborn person, me owning my stubbornness is one of the things that helps me be able to get out of my own way. So I think sometimes identifying patterns is important. Today's video is going to be the 10 things to do if you believe you are a narcissist. Now, this topic is sort of based on different things that I want to, have people sort of think about when they say, I think I might be a narcissist. Because I know that I often say that I believe that this is a pattern that doesn't change. And so the fact of the matter is that I think that this is a pattern that is difficult to change, impossible to change if a person doesn't think it needs to be changed. But for those of you who
Right. If you can tolerate it, you can't change what you can tolerate. But once you're fed up with something, you're gonna find a way to make it happen. It's just, I mean, but as long as you that's really the only reason that makes narcissism uncurable, is because the narcissist doesn't believe they need to change. That's the only reason I've looked at it. In doing research, all the videos are saying the same thing. And what I read on it says the same thing. It's because I've even talked to actual therapists. That's why they can't work with them, because they don't believe it's a problem. That's the only reason. Other than that, they could be helped. If they were willing to accept their crap, working with them, it would be fairly easy, especially if they're willing to be held accountable. You can change something that you're not trying to be burdened by anymore.
who say, I'm willing to own it, this might be me. To people out there who are in relationships with narcissists but don't think they're narcissistic themselves, I highly advise you take a look at this video, and I'll tell you why. If you listen to this and say, there is no way in heck that my partner is even going to do one of these things, that's a wake-up call for you, because that's not a good sign. And for those of you who are in these narcissistic relationships and say, I think I might be able to get them on board with some of this, there may be a bit of a future, maybe not be fully healthy, but there may be a future you can build through therapy. Those of you who think you're narcissistic, take a look at this, and I want you to be honest with yourself. This is what you need to do. These are the things you need to do if this is going to be a healthy relationship. So before we start this journey, I'm going to ask you, please subscribe to this channel, and you keep getting, again, not only the opportunity to weigh in on what you want to see, but more guidance on how to manage narcissism. Hit that bell for notifications. So let's take it on. What are the 10 things to do if you believe you, yourself, are the narcissist? As I said, I've received so many requests for videos addressing the fundamental question, what do I do if I think I'm narcissistic? Listen, I'm not a fan of anyone self-diagnosing or self-labeling, and narcissism, again, isn't a diagnosis. I am a fan, though, of people taking accountability for their behavior, especially when it impacts other people badly, and looking at their patterns. And yeah, it may be, like I said, I'm stubborn. That all falls under a pattern. You might say, I'm doing some of these things. I want to be aware of it. I actually think there's something incredibly courageous about admitting that you may have a difficult personality pattern, such as narcissism, or that you're antagonistic, or any of those things. But that is only courageous if you're committed to actually addressing it. Now, I know some of you watching this channel are rolling your eyes at this video and thinking, Doc, why are you even making this video? You said they really don't change. Yeah, on a population level and on a probability level.
She's going by the statistics. Statistically, they don't change, but that doesn't mean that they can't change. So, I mean, but you had statistically, black folks aren't supposed to be rich, but you have black millionaires and billionaires. So I'll just leave that right there.
That is true. But I do work with clients who are narcissistic, and I'm heartened to see from the comments I receive that people are watching these videos. They're in relationships that aren't working, families that aren't working. And they are willing to be vulnerable enough to potentially acknowledge it and solid enough to say, okay, I don't want to be this person anymore. I see it. I'm starting to see the body count. I need to address this. I'm going to tell you now, if you think you're narcissistic, this isn't easy. If you're going to change this, it means being self-aware all of the time, catching yourself.
I know why she's doing this long introduction too, because narcissists tend to not want to listen to things like this because they don't believe they need to change. So she kind of has to kind of break things down and get you comfortable, get you into the state of mind to where you will want to listen. So I know why she's just not just jumping right into it. And that's a psychology. But so that's why it's taking. That's probably why a lot of other videos are like an hour long and stuff like that. But I watched a lot of them. I watched a lot of other videos that were hour long because it has to be broken down, especially like when it comes to the human mind and all that stuff.
And not falling into your usual patterns of responding. If you tend to lash out when you're stressed or disappointed, then you need to catch yourself and come up with alternative responses. So let's take it from the top. What's the number one thing you need to do? You need to be mindful.
Yep, pretty much.
This is the money shot. And if you can do this, it will be very healing for you and for everyone else. This requires slowing down and paying attention to how you listen, how you speak, how you respond, what you say, and how your words and actions affect other people in real time. This is not about saying the wrong thing now and then apologizing later. It's about being present more often than not and considering other people's feelings when you speak or act. It means pausing before hitting send on the text or the email. It means breathing deep before saying invalidating words. It means believing another person's reality and never doubting it. You can disagree with other people and you can do it respectfully, but you don't ever get to take their reality away.
No, that's a good point because that's one habit I used to have really, really, really bad. I had to learn to stop and try to figure out where that other person was coming from, where they were thinking about, what feelings they may be going through their mind, because you got to analyze what they may be thinking, and they have their own reality. Everyone has their own reality, and they have their own life. They have their own experiences. When I was talking about earlier about they have their own backgrounds and traumas and histories and experiences, but you can't ignore that if you're gonna respond to it. You can't lash out because now you're disregarding their feelings, you're disregarding their emotions, you're disregarding where they're coming from, and that's not going to get anything resolved. If anything, you're going to push them away. You have to be more understanding with your responses, and that's one thing. Like I said, I've had to do that. I had to do those things. I had to learn how to handle people better. Had to learn how to respond better. Had to learn how to do these things. So like I said, I'm not saying something I haven't done. Now, I've actually been doing this, been practicing and doing it, and getting better and better at it, and learning as I go when it comes to forming better responses, because other people have problems too. It's not just about you when it comes to that, and a lot of things aren't always what people are saying. It's how we take it. Sometimes we can take things wrong. Sometimes they may not mean no harm, especially if they're holding us accountable for something. 9 times out of 10, they're just wanting to see change. They're just wanting their feelings and emotions and life is affected by our actions and our words, and they're trying to communicate with us because they want to see change, because they're letting you know, hey, this is affecting me. It's not an attack on you. You have to understand that. It's not a personal attack. It is just humans exchange words like this all the time because none of us are perfect. Hey, this is a problem. I would like to see this resolved. I would like for you to make these changes, because everyone does something to offend someone every once in a while. Not saying it's on purpose. It's not a cynical thing I'm saying, but everyone is not is subject to change, is subject to accountability. And since the narcissist has an inflated ego, when you hold them accountable down, their ego, their feelings are hurt or whatever, you hurt their delicate little feelings, and they get offended, they lash out. Instead of receiving the correction, receiving what the other person is saying, they take it as an attack because it's an insecurity due to past trauma that they had. So that's really the case. So you get rid of the ego. You drop down from this pedestal that you're on and see yourself as a regular human, subject to correction, subject to accountability, and become comfortable with your insecurities, become comfortable knowing that you have flaws and knowing that you're always subject to correction. Because you're not going to do everything right. You're not Mr. or Mrs. Perfect. That's a huge step. Once you get to that point, it makes everything else that much easier.
If this is not how you have run your life to date, it's a major shift. You may find your bandwidth truly depleted at the end of the day because you are now, if you're doing this, you are now actually flexing a mental muscle you don't usually use. It means shelving your contempt for other people or their opinions.
But they have to do it for us as well, so it's not like you're having to give your whole life away, because again, this is something everyone has to do. And then when you're in a relationship, both are doing it for one another. They have to sacrifice too. They have to put up with things that we do. So we can't play victim when it comes to I have to sacrifice my emotion for theirs. But they're doing it for us too, though. They're doing it for me too. I have to realize this. They're sacrificing for me too. They're making sacrifices for me too. They disregard their feelings for mine too. So it's give and take. They can sacrifice their feelings. They can put their contempt and all that aside for me. I'm not special. I don't deserve for them to give their all and me give nothing. It's just not fair. It's not fair to do that.
Mindfulness means being present and aware in the moment and not just thinking about what happened weeks, months, or years before, or wondering if I do this mindful thing, is it going to get me what I want down the road? It means being...
No, it's not so we can get something out of it, so we just can be a better person, so we can not be it's just healthy, a healthy way to live, a healthy way to be. It's not, you are getting something, but it's a healthier life, a healthier emotional life, a healthier relationships. You want healthier relationships because if you don't do these things, you're going to wind up by yourself, you're going to wind up alone, you're going to wind up with a bunch of burnt bridges. And people need other people. We have to be social with each other. That's why I don't even interact with people that feel like they're entitled, or the people that think the way I used to think. I don't even deal with those type of people anymore because you have to. It's the only way you're going to have healthy and meaningful relationships, whether it be friends, family, or otherwise. You have to be able to be mindful of other people. It's mandatory. Just like certain jobs, you have to have a degree. You have to have a high school diploma or equivalent or a degree. Certain things you have to have. So if you want this, so you are getting something, it's just not a superficial thing. You have to take your mind away from superficial. You have to turn it towards what you truly desire, because everyone desires a healthy, meaningful relationship with someone. It doesn't have to be with a companion. But we are all social creatures. Anyone says, I don't need nobody, all that, that's usually rooted in hurt and being disappointed so much to the point where you're just saying screw it. But deep down you desire something meaningful. And on the other side of that spectrum, they're saying I'd rather be alone than put up with bullcrap. So, but you still really desire if it was there, if the offer was on the table and it was there for you to, it was within your reach, that's what you would grab. Like people say, it ain't all about money, but if someone gave you $1 million, you take it, regardless of saying it ain't about money. You may have all those those thought patterns and all that, but if the offer was on the table, you take it. So the same thing with a healthy relationship. That's what you're getting out of the deal by being mindful, by being considerate, by being compassionate, is a meaningful bond that's what you want anyway. You don't want the superficial crap. All the superficial crap is just there to cover up, to compensate for what you can't get because of your stubbornness, because of your douchebaggery.
Being present now. And that is the only way to learn the kind of self-awareness and self-monitoring that is essential for pushing past and addressing your past narcissistic patterns.
This is how AI optimizes my schedule. This meeting got canceled. Hooray! We didn't really want to go anyways.
Whatever.
Number 2, you need to take the word but out of your vocabulary.
Yep. Because anytime you say but, you just negate everything you said prior to that. I'm sorry, but no, it's not an apology. I didn't say that right, but no, now everything you're taking away from everything you said prior to the but. Look, I shouldn't have said it that way. I was wrong. Or I shouldn't have did this. I was wrong. Stop right there.
And this cuts to the core of defensiveness. People who have narcissistic personalities tend to be very defensive. You also tend to be very argumentative, and that is a classical part of this pattern. So let's start with an easy good place. A good place is...
And something I gotta say too. I gotta get out of here. Not getting out of the stream, but a lot of narcissists, they want to look like the hero. But the only way to look like a hero is to face your flaws, to be more accountable, to be able to admit that you're wrong, to be able to accept the fact that there are times where you're not right. There are times where you need to change. There are things you need to work on. That has a better image. There's no shame in admitting that you're wrong. There's no shame in being wrong. There's no shame in being flawed. The shame comes where you're too stubborn or too arrogant to admit that you have to make those changes, or admit that you need to do the work. That's you make yourself look worse by trying to lie and cover it up, or whatever the case may be, or you make excuses for your imperfection or incompetence, because everyone has them. So they see through your bullcrap when you try to cover it up, because everyone has it. They're just not afraid like you to show it, and they're just man or woman enough to hold themselves to kind of, hey, I was lacking right here. I got to work on this. I need to do better here. I need to fix this. That's what makes you more of a man or more of a woman. That's what makes you more of a hero. When you admit flaws and you work on it and you change it and fix it and you grow, when you do the work. So in you trying to cover up shame and avoid shame, you wind up running right into it. Because they said what you fear will show up, and what you look at disappears. When you fear something, it'll manifest. When you try to avoid shame, when you try to avoid it, you wind up bringing more shame. But when you're not afraid, when you get rid of that ego, it's from experience. When you get rid of that ego, when you get rid of that arrogance, when you remove all of that, when you own up to your crap, that makes you look better. You wind up being a better person too.
To eliminate that word but, because it is often the prelude to defensiveness. I know I said that, but go back to the mindfulness piece. Listen to people.
I know I said that. I was wrong. And then you address what the other person's concerns are.
Do not shut them down. If you don't agree with them, you can do so respectfully without saying, but. And when you are called out for something that may have been uncomfortable for someone else, don't defend yourself. Don't deny their reality. Don't say things like, I never said that, or I didn't mean that. Listen to them. Commit to learning from the interaction and stop.
All this is healthy communication. What a lot of us should have learned decades ago, years ago. Like I said, in the past stream, a lot of us were surrounded by narcissism. We weren't taught how to healthily communicate, effectively communicate. But and again, there's no excuse because we have more than enough resources now to make that happen, to make it a reality.
Stop defending yourself all the time. It leaves the other person to feel invalidated. Number 3, and this is one of the more important ones, you got to get therapy. You got to get therapy not only to address.
Check. Been there, done that. And it was awesome. It was the best experience ever. The most uncomfortable, but the best experience. It was the most pivotal moment in my entire life. 100% agree.
The narcissism, but also co-occurring mental health issues and family issues. Narcissism is a pattern that often co-occurs with other clinical issues. These can include depression,
Check.
anxiety,
Check.
substance use,
Check.
anger management issues,
Check.
attention deficit disorder,
Check.
post-traumatic stress,
Check.
and issues related to impulsivity, as well as other
Check.
major mental illnesses like
I was diagnosed with all of those things with the exception of narcissism. Every last one of them, I had them. Substance abuse, I was alcoholic. I had rage, had anger issues. I had all of that crap. Depression, anxiety. I was diagnosed with PTSD. All of these things. All of the above.
bipolar disorder. Therapy is an essential.
I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar, but I had some issues concerning that. The way I was acting, you'd be led to believe I was.
Tool to address other clinical patterns you may be experiencing and then getting appropriate intervention. Now,
And I had all of that too. Check, 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 and check minus plus check times z to the third, the square root of the cube, all over 2a.
in addition, we know that the pattern of narcissism has deep developmental roots, and these can at times include trauma and neglect or simply inconsistent parenting. And a lot of narcissistic folks, because they're so defended, say, no, I had a great family. Maybe not. It's important you also explore some of those issues so you can gain understanding of how long-standing patterns may be contributing to your current personality style and associated behaviors. Therapy becomes an important space to learn coping tools and to be accountable. We know that narcissism is often associated.
And that's why I said I was doing these things without knowing that I was curing my narcissism. I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time. I just, I want to be better. So I want to practice. I want to do the things I hadn't been doing. I want to work towards doing them. And lo and behold, I was a narcissist and didn't know it. And I found myself taking these necessary steps without realizing I was doing it to rid myself of this bullcrap called narcissism. I didn't realize. But all I knew was I wanted to become better. I didn't want those patterns to continue. I don't want to continue to damage and ruin people's lives with my douchebaggery. I didn't want to keep doing that. I just wanted a better life, a better way for everybody else. I didn't want to keep hurting people. So I began this journey so that I would not continue that same ridiculous cycle of hurting people over and over. I meet them, they think I'm a good person, and then they find out I'm a douchebag. I meet them, they think I'm a good person, then they find out I'm a douchebag. I meet them over and over and over and over. No. So this got to stop. We got to fix this. We're not going to keep going down the same ridiculous regurgitating path. We're going to change it because it'll keep going until you do something about it. So that was my motivation right there.
For example, with having difficulties with managing stress and disappointment. Therapy can be a place to learn different ways of managing those negative experiences. Like, it never feels good to be disappointed, but to learn to do it in a way that doesn't antagonize other people. There are also multiple other issues that a narcissistic personality style can raise, and these can include relationship difficulties, problems in the workplace, as well as a whole host of other interpersonal problems. Basically, you get into fights with everybody you know. And therapy can be a place to learn how to manage these situations.
I didn't get, it wasn't with everybody, but it was more arguments and than I would have cared for. So yeah, I just had to get out of those patterns, man. And I don't even waste time with people anymore. Even if they're in, if I'm approached and they're in the wrong, I don't even waste energy on them anymore, because I understand if they're coming from, especially if they're coming from an ignorant place, or I don't even invest my time or energy with them. So, and I removed a lot of toxic people off social media and a lot of toxic groups. I removed myself from them. I just don't bother with it anymore.
Situations in a more healthy and reciprocal manner. Therapy may also help you with other life challenges, including parenting, and it becomes an important space to build up that muscle of empathy that you've not been practicing in other areas of your life. Number 4, focus on gratitude. Thank you may be 2 of the most powerful words in the English language. It's one word in many other languages, but thank you. Especially if you say thank you.
Gracias. Yeah, it's one word. But anyway, yeah. If you have these tendencies, it is hard at first to show appreciation, but you get used to it, like everything else.
Authentically. Gratitude is good for us, and there is good research showing the beneficial health effects of gratitude.
It's a psychological thing too. It's showing is because reason why it's hard for narcissists to say thank you, because they want to be able to do everything themselves. They want credit for everything because they have an inflated ego. Saying thank you means that you have to share credit with someone else. You have to give credit to someone else for whatever impact it is they had on your life, or whatever favor they did for you. Saying thank you is more. That's why it's more uncomfortable for them to do that, because they want everyone to believe that they did it wherever they are. They did it all on their own, or they don't have any help, or no one cares about them. It's all either woe is me, or I did it all myself. One or the other. I have no help. I have nobody. But if they're telling you thank you, or they're giving gratitude to other people, now they have to come out and admit that they're not alone. So it's a lot that they're having to cover up.
For your health, and let's face it, it's also good for other people. Gratitude forces you to see other people and recognize their contributions rather than take them for granted.
I ain't gotta say nothing.
Practice gratitude, and specifically take the time to notice the contributions of other people. Set your entitlement aside and express real gratitude without expecting anything in return, and extend that to simply having gratitude for the things that are around you, not just people, but the life.
Yep, I had to do that too. Check. I had to thank him just for the sun. I had to be thankful for the sun, for the wind, for the weather, for just having a place, to lay my head, having transportation, just basic stuff. We have to take time out and appreciate the basics, because that entitlement will cause you to be depressed also, because I want this, or I need this, instead of just appreciating the things that you do have. You tend to be entitled but you actually have it good and don't know it. You don't know how good you really have it
around you. Number 5, you got to focus on meaning and purpose. Viktor Frankl writes, in some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice.
Zillow helped me land this Airbnb listing. Yes, Zillow. Now here's the craziest part. I don't
The challenge with a narcissistic personality style is that people who are narcissistic
I don't mean it's a bad thing. I don't want to get off focus here.
are often propelled by very superficial goals, money, admiration, winning, and not around meaning
Women.
and purpose. The deeper sense of connection that meaning and purpose give to you, they connect you to something larger than you, forces you to grapple with questions like, what are you about? What do you stand for? This is important work, inner work, and it represents sort of a pinnacle in mental wellness if you can get there. You need to start shifting away from what's important. Stop focusing on the car you drive, the number of followers you have, and shift to what is meaningful.
Speaking of followers, hit the buttons, guys. If you're watching this stream, you made it this far, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, Tito's Entertainment on YouTube. If you're on my Facebook page, Tito's Entertainment on Facebook. Support the radio station. If you don't listen to nothing but just one song, hit the buttons, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I'm using my words. Thank you. I thank y'all for tuning in, for watching. Thank everyone for following.
Meaningful activities that feel purposeful and connect you to the larger world. Number 6, learn to make amends in an authentic manner. If you have a narcissistic personality style, you have likely hurt far more people than you even know.
Oh, please don't remind me.
Insults,
For the love of God, don't remind me.
lack of empathy, contempt, invalidation, gaslighting, deliberate cruelty, these things hurt people. Making amends is critical to addressing family ruptures, workplace issues, and in your existing relationships. It's a place to work on reconciliation with everyone. It's not easy. And not everyone is going to accept your attempt at reconciliation, and they don't have to. But if you're really going to address this pattern in yourself, it's important that you at least make a good faith attempt to address these wounds. Number 7, create new responses. As noted earlier, narcissistic personalities are not good under conditions of stress, under disappointment. Now the tendency...
No, they aren't. It's hard to fight that stuff at first. It is really hard to resist those impulses at first, but eventually, because you have to take your mind away from those things and put them on something else, and it is not definitely not easy, but the more you do it, the easier it gets.
See, is that folks who are narcissistic, they take, when they're uncomfortable, like when they're disappointed, they take it out on other people rather than finding healthier ways to cope for themselves and for others. These new ways of addressing stress can include taking a break, stepping away before you say something hurtful, counting to 10, learning to breathe, not personalizing everything, and finding appropriate outlets like exercise or meditation. Number 8, you got to take responsibility for your stuff. This is a critical issue.
It's a huge thing. You got to take, like what I've been preaching about this whole stream.
Narcissism, by definition, is a style characterized by projection, denial, and even deceit.
And victimhood.
To cover your tracks.
The victim card, don't leave home without it.
If you do something or say something, just own it. Take responsibility. For example, good leaders take responsibility. Good friends, good family members, good partners, good coworkers, good managers take responsibility. Yeah, it's uncomfortable to take responsibility.
Like hell it is. Yeah, it is. It really is, though. But, again, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
But it also sets you free from existing cycles of shame. The world won't stop spinning if you cop to doing or saying something bad or abusive.
And I was trying to find this video yesterday. For some reason, I couldn't find it. But I didn't put the right words in the, and it's triggered in the algorithm, so I couldn't. I wasn't able to find it. But I'm glad. So I had to save for this stream. So, well, and then I started this stream and still didn't pull the right one up. But I think this is the right order, so it still worked out.
But if you take real accountability, real responsibility, and then issue real apologies, then true accountability and reconciliation can happen. This isn't just about saying sorry as a throwaway comment just to keep the trains running. This is about taking ownership of your participation in interactions that may hurt people. Make it right. Number 9.
There's an incredible arthritis story going viral about a guy named Toby who's like pushing 70. It's crazy. Not only did he get rid of his chronic pain,
Engaging in self-compassion instead of self-promotion. According to Dr. Kristen Neff, the 3 pillars of self-compassion are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. Self-compassion isn't about propping yourself up or bragging or saying, oh, I'm really great, really, look how great I am. It's actually about being kind to yourself. And that isn't always easy, believe it or not, for people with narcissistic personality styles. They're good at bragging, but they're not good at self-kindness because they are often not kind to other people. Being kind to yourself means being empathic to your own hurts and wounds. And by extension, like I said, that should help you be kind to other people.
And I had to do that also. I talk crazy on the internet saying I was a douchebag and all that stuff, but that's really not how I talk to myself. I just do that that's just something I just say on the internet. But I had to learn how to do that too, to be kind to yourself, to give yourself grace. That's what we call it in the Christian side of things. You have to give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, forgive yourself, because the way we treat ourselves is the way we treat other people. The reason why you have hateful people out there is because really and truly they hate themselves. And you can only give out of you what's inside of you. If you're full of hate, that's all you can give. You can't give love. You can't show love if you're full of hate. If you don't love yourself, if you don't have any love in you, how can you share it or give it to anyone else? Because love, all those things, those are not dilly emotions. They require action. They require work. They require consistency. You have to take time and effort out to saying and doing and thinking, and it's just hard work. Just like building a house, just like paving a driveway. You have to show these things consistently. And I did want to talk about love bombing, but might not be in this stream anyway. Maybe in a future stream. But because this stream has been long, I don't want to drag it out. Because once she's done with this, I'm gonna end it. But I don't want to drag it on.
Now, common humanity is also not easy for people with narcissistic personalities because they often do not look outside of themselves to recognize that we are all connected to each other. And the contempt that narcissistic personalities can have for other people can limit that ability to see this all as part of one whole humanity. For narcissistic people, you need to stop seeing people as adversaries, but simply as people who just all of us deal with the same stuff as you. And
Yep, I said it earlier in the stream. We all have our own. Everyone has depressing moments, has feelings, has emotions, has things that they have to work through, and our problems don't matter over someone else's. So, yeah, I had to learn all these things, man. And do I still have emotional impulses? Yes, I do, but I don't act on them like I used to. The impulse still will come up, but I have to stop and think and rationalize. I can't just, even if it means me taking a step back and saying, "Hey, we'll I'm gonna talk to you later about this situation," or whatever the case may be. You have to think. It takes a lot more thought. It takes a lot more effort, but it can be done.
finally, and this is where we kind of end where we began, good old mindfulness. Staying in the moment and not always wondering what is happening next or what already happened. Just stay present. Get away from that old vindictive pattern of having to always right the old wrongs. Number 10, take all those patterns of narcissism and turn them around. We know narcissism is about validation seeking, so turn that around and instead of expecting it for yourself, offer it to others.
What did I? Well, that's why I said you take everything narcissists do and you reverse it. Not saying it's just that's all you have to do, but it takes a lot of work and effort and all that other stuff. But it can be done. You have to take all those traits and reverse. Practice. It takes practice. And the only way you can learn how to do something is by doing it. There's no other way. I don't care how many books you read on something. I don't care how many videos you watch on something. The only way you can learn how to do something is by doing it. That's it. There's no other exceptions to the rule. There's no shortcuts. None of that. You have to do it.
Narcissism is about lack of empathy. Instead of lacking it, try showing some.
And exactly, empathy is not a feeling. You can feel empathy, but you have to show it too, so people will believe that you have it. If it's not shown, it doesn't mean anything. All these things take work. It takes practice. Emotion is one thing, but actually doing is a whole nother. It takes work to do. It takes a lot of these things people expect you to do because that's how society operates, how the world operates, off compassion, off because there are more good people than bad. It's just that a lot of people don't practice, weren't brought up in healthy environments, so they tend to have bad habits. So you have to break those habits and start acquiring healthier ones.
Narcissism's about entitlement. Let someone behind you in line go ahead if they have less stuff and wait your turn graciously. Narcissism is about arrogance. So let other people be in charge and take note of how well they may do at parts of it that you don't know how to do. Narcissism is about rage and impulsivity. Stop and think before you speak and turn down the volume on some of that anger. Once you suspect that you have a
then all you do, you stop and think, you calm your mind down, you take your emotion out of it. Once you take your emotion out of it, you'll see that if you actually acted on that emotion, you would be a complete douchebag because you overlooked what that person was feeling, what they were thinking, their concerns, their problems. You overlooked all of that for your own feelings, for your own stuff, and that indeed makes you a douchebag. And I've like I said, looking over my past relationships, I did that a whole lot, and even after you forgive yourself, it still hits your mind. You still think about it and how you could have done it better, and what you should have done, what you should have not done, a lot of that kind of stuff. I've done that a lot, and that's the path that I chose to go down. I went down a path of anger, substance abuse, all that stuff, and that's just where I was. But deliverance is real, change is real, all that stuff is possible. Like I said, you gotta be willing to do the work. Deliverance, and people think deliverance is you laying on the altar for 12 hours, and just something just comes over you, and you're all of a sudden you're different. No, all of that is just intimacy with the Father when you're doing that. But when it comes down to repenting is a Greek word metaneo. It means to change your mind about something. When you have to change your mind. Once you change it, so when you change your mindset, that requires work. It's still work. Repent, it's work. You can't get around hard work when it comes to stuff, especially when it's stuff like this. You have to be willing to do the work.
Narcissistic personality style, and you turn around and you commit.
And I know this is a long stream, but I had to get this out because there is hope, and I wanted to play these two important videos because some people think that it can't change, but I'm here to tell you I'm a living testimony when it comes to that because I'm well on my way. So I'm here to tell you that is possible, but you got to get rid of the ego, got to get rid of the stubbornness, got to get rid of the fear of being shamed or being normal, because we're all just human, man.
To these 10 steps every day, I can all but guarantee your relationship with the world will change. And as you can see, breaking patterns is not easy. This is not going to be easy. These are different patterns because they're so automatic.
They are, but like you said, if you work on it every day, and the one thing, because if you change your mind, you change your mindset, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You change your mind, the actions will follow. Will they be perfect all the time? No. But your mind will be like, okay, we messed up, but we're going to get back on track. It's going to keep you on the right path. You have to take on a completely different mindset. And this goes for anything, not just narcissism. If you try to change your actions without changing your mindset, it's not going to work, because the reason why it's so hard for you to change your actions without changing your mindset, because part of you still enjoys being in the present, being engulfed in what you're in. It's hard to get out of it if you still want to do it, if you still like it, if you still don't see the issue, if you still don't know why you need to change. But once you gain the right mindset, okay, I need to change because none of this, my way isn't working. My way is harmful to others. I'm hurting people. I'm damaging people. I'm damaging myself. I'm condemning myself and everyone around me to torment because I'm just not because of my toxicity, because of my brokenness, and this needs to stop. So when you change your mindset, now you'll be willing to make changes. Make whatever changes need to be made. Whatever we got to do to fix this, that's what we're going to do. It don't matter at that point.
They're hard to break and hard cycles to change. It can be done, but it's hard work. And consistency is...
Building hospitals is hard work. Building skyscrapers. Building an empire. But it happens every day, doesn't it? My point exactly. We can do it.
Everything. You don't embark on a journey like this to convince other people you've changed and then let go of the daily work. This isn't about future faking. This is about daily, hourly awareness and committing yourself to a new...
And if you do it that way, that you have the wrong mindset. If you do it just to be recognized by everybody, that's the wrong way to go. Because the right way to go is like what I said earlier: have meaningful, healthy relationships, to have a meaningful, healthy bond with the people around you, because God brings people into our lives, and for a reason. And if we take care of those people, if we take care of them like we're supposed to take care of them, we'll have a healthy, meaningful life. But if we don't do that, then we'll wind up like the video in my other stream. You'll wind up old, unhealthy, and alone, and sad if you make it to the point of being old, because a lot of times things catch up with you more earlier than you realize. So yeah, there's that too.
New way of viewing the world and viewing yourself. But wait. I've come up with the number 11, so consider this a little bonus, an Easter egg in the video. Think about reacting versus responding. For narcissistic individuals, their tendency is to react. They tend to respond right from the hip. It's very different than responding. Responding is slow, and it's mindful, and it's thoughtful. Reacting is thoughtless and careless. Responding involves taking a moment, crafting an empathic response, accounting for the other person, taking a moment, and before you say something, really having that pause and thinking, before I say this, how will this affect this situation? How will it affect this other person? Narcissism is a reactive style. Reacting can become responding just by being mindful. When you react, you do things like say, I never said that, I never did that. The reacting is where the gaslighting and the defensiveness can very, very easily happen.
Yeah, it's really easy. And like I said, it's not always intentional, but like I said, if I run over your foot with my car, whether I meant to do it or not, doesn't take away from the pain that your foot is in. It just doesn't take away from it. So the intent doesn't matter. It's just the realization that you're actually doing it. You're hurting people. So it's either way, it has to stop.
If you can change the pattern and say, I'm not going to react, I'm going to give this a minute, and then I'm going to respond, because narcissistic patterns are so impulsive, it's much more like
it's emotional. So what you have to do, take your emotion out of it and use logic instead. If the whole root to narcissism is emotional impulses, you take your emotion out of it and really think about, use logic, not emotion, not this. You have to train your mind to use this, to think about it, analyze things, and not respond with this. Your heart always leads you wrong. 10 times out of 10, it leads you wrong. This, thinking logically, applying the proper principles, that's how you get the best results. Emotions they're always going to lead you wrong. They will never lead you right. I've had to learn that the hard way. I used to, maybe I can trust him here. No, it was wrong. Maybe I can trust him over here. No, it was wrong again. No, they're always wrong. Emotions are just an indicator to let you know whether there's a problem, whether this and that. It's an indicator. But you don't make decisions with that. You don't make decisions with your emotions. Emotions just it's like the check engine light in your car. If your brake light is on or your thing is indicating that there's a problem, your mind is registering certain things. It may be processing things wrong for all we know. So you don't make decisions based off those feelings. You make them based off statistics, your thoughts. You analyze what people say and how another person's feeling, and how another person's what another person's going through.
likely someone's going to react instead of respond. It's
Hold on, I'll 1 second. Oh yeah. And thank you for the follow. See, I'm using kind words. I appreciate it. Couldn't do this without you, buddy.
really about catching that. Just learning to flex that muscle, not going, it's almost like physical therapy, right? You have to learn to move slowly and carefully. Same thing here. You've got to catch yourself, not give that reactive response.
Don't know exactly what that means, but hey, appreciate the comment.
You can do these 11 things. You're going to turn things around for yourself. And when you really think about any of these patterns, let's use the reacting and responding. A great analogy would actually be around losing weight. If you've ever tried to lose a lot of weight, all of us could pretty much probably do it. Unless we have underlying health conditions, most of us could lose weight. And you know how we do it? By making daily changes. Every day, changing what we eat, paying attention to what we eat, saying no to the stuff that's not good for us.
And that again requires a lot of hard work, because you have to. Some people have to get trainers to hold them accountable, accountability people, because even that, for some people, they may not be willing to go through all that stuff. So they have to have somebody to help them out. Just like with working on your mental health, you need a therapist with some stuff. And even with this, you're probably going to need an accountability partner.
Saying yes to the stuff that is every day.
Thinking I'm gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
If you want to drop this,
yeah, I don't care.
All the time. And are we going to get it right every day? Nah. There's going to be a birthday party. There's going to be a big night out, and we might have a lapse. But then we'll say, next day I'm going to get back into it. It's the same thing. Every day you have to think about what comes out of your mouth. Every day you have to think about your impact on other people. Every day you need to be self-reflective if you have a narcissistic style and want to change this. You have to do that deep dive. You have to pay attention. And if you get it wrong one day, you eat the psychological equivalent of a bag of chips, you stop, you catch yourself, you take responsibility, you make amends, and you don't do it again. Those of you watching this video who may not be having narcissistic patterns yourself, but you're watching this to see, can a family member be helped? Can my partner be helped? Reflect on it. Do you think this person can do this? I'm going to give you a piece of guidance. Don't just go show this video to someone unless they're already willing to make that admission. But if you have someone in your life who's saying, yeah, I can see that these patterns are true of me, share this with them, because this is really an 11-point plan for what they need to do. And if they can do this every day, you might actually have a fighting chance. I know a lot of you are sitting there saying, come on, Dr. Ramani, you've always said this doesn't change. I mean, it doesn't change because people aren't willing to own that this is their pattern. And then
what have I been saying this entire time? It's because they themselves refuse to own up to their crap. That's all it is. That's the only problem. But if they do these things on this list, they can change. This is the way they can change. It's just that they themselves put a wall up. It's all it is, really. Because the only thing that can stop you from doing certain things is you. Not gonna say everything, because there are limitations. There are some things that we can never do. I can never dunk a basketball. I can never be a pilot for the Air Force because my vision sucks. It's just some things I'll never be able to do. But when it comes to this, being accountable for my actions, becoming a better person, yeah, I could do those things. Anybody can do it if they're willing.
Do these 11 things all the time. If a person really was willing.
But the more you don't have to do it all the time. You could perfect one thing at a time. You could work on one thing today and get it right, then work on another thing. Matter of fact, if you work on number 1 on the list, it'll make a way for the rest of the stuff on the list. Because you'll be open to doing the rest of the stuff. Once you change your mindset, all the other stuff, it'll kind of just start falling in place. Ask me how I know.
To commit to this hard work, I actually think there's some real possibility there. It's very, very hard. So I know a lot of people aren't up to it. And some people just say, I can't do this. I can't be bothered. This isn't my authentic self. My authentic self.
Your authentic self is the best version of yourself. Being a narcissist, a narcissist is broken. That's not your authentic self. You're not a broken piece of trash. That's the worst part of you that needs to go away. The authentic self is you at your best. That's who that is. So if you're not at your best, that's not authentic. It's not very authentic, is it? If you're broken, if you still hadn't healed from your trauma, if your development stopped at age 12 because you hadn't healed from it yet, it's not very authentic, is it? So the authentic you is when you do the work it takes to heal. When you, just like you take a house that a hoarder lived in for 15 years and got all this crap and stuff on the walls and all this kind of crazy stuff all on the floor, all this dirt and smut everywhere. That's not the authentic house. If you take it and clean it out and clean the walls and fix it up like it needs to be fixed up and get it up to standard, that is authentic. The best version of who you are is the authentic self. So you're broken, if you're in shambles, your heart is in shambles, you're lashing out at people, that's not authentic. You're just a douchebag. And you have to change and do better. That's just all it is to it.
Is loud and grumpy and mean, okay, I can get down with that. But then if you're in a relationship with that person, it's up to you whether you want to sign off on that. So
that's not authentic. That's just a jerkwad, man.
This is also for the.
And he had whatever issues they have that are making them like that is not authentic. I mean, it's because it's usually rooted in some type of problem or mental illness that probably could be managed better. And they probably, if they got rid of that, if they learned how to be healthier with that, that would probably go away. That meanness, that grumpiness, that angerness is like a lion with a thorn in his paw. They probably wouldn't be so angry if they didn't have that thorn in their paw. Same goes for this. You probably wouldn't be an angry douchebag if you do the work it takes to heal and get over yourself and all your other issues that you may have. Because after I did the work, all of this stuff, I stopped seeing life as just tragic. It's crazy. I stopped singing the Life is Pain song. I started had a lot more peace in my life. So it works. Just trust me, it works. Take it from somebody that's done it. I'm not perfect with it, but yeah, these things are very effective because I did them without knowing that I was doing it.
Those of you who do have narcissistic personality styles, this is what you need to do, and there's no other path forward.
Really ain't.
If you stay on the path you are on and you're not hearing with an open ear, you are being defensive, you are being reactive, you're not being mindful, it's not good for the people around you. But one thing I can all but guarantee is that if you really were to follow these 11 steps every day for weeks, months, and years, that not only will your mental health significantly improve,
yep,
but so too will your physical health, your quality of life, and your relationships in all realms of your life. Those of you who say, I'm not doing this authentically, I'm a loud person, I'm used to getting my way, that's cool. I don't want to get in the way of your authenticity.
It's not authentic. She's being sarcastic, by the way, but we all know that.
But if that's your authentic style, you really can't expect people to get down with that. So understand, just like we say, always it's a rule of physics, for every action there's an equal and
the real you is the healed you. That's all I got to say about it.
Opposite reaction. You're going to treat people badly. I'm trying to teach them to walk away from that. But if you really want to put the work into getting this right, there really could be a very wonderful, rich, and connected life ahead of you. I would say that if you could try to commit to this and see how it works with you and do it in line with therapy, there's a very bright future that could be ahead of you. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope this...
Yep, I hope it was helpful. But it helped me, but like I said, I didn't see these videos until after I completed my journey and started doing these things. Again, it takes work. It takes a lot of that. It takes a lot of hard work. It's not overnight, but it can be done. And I appreciate the follows, appreciate the support. But like I said, I'm gonna post this to YouTube and everything, and on my TW Entertainment Facebook. And hope y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all's day. And yeah, I'm out this thing.